Okay, can you imagine what it would be like to have had parents who, or a parent who was a beggar and didn't need to beg. Okay, just liked having the ability to, whatever it is, whatever they liked about it. And, like maybe they get online. Maybe your parents now do this. They get online and beg for money. They're e-beggars. And they lie about it. They're deceptive. But, can you imagine what it would have been to grow up with somebody? Maybe they did it in a different way. Back then, they got on the street. They begged with their family, their friends, with anybody, their church, to get whatever. They go to food banks and say they don't have money when they do. Say it's a woman and her husband works and makes good money, and whomever it is, the parent, and doesn't need it, but they do it. I had an aunt. Actually, she wasn't. It was kind of strange. The relation, I think it was something like my dad had an uncle who was his age or younger, and he married I might be wrong, but he married a distant relative or something, or somehow, maybe they weren't blood kin, or maybe they were, like one was married to somebody in the past that was kin, something like that, whatever it was. I'm not saying they were inbreds, but whatever it was, not inbreds. What is the word? You know what the word I'm looking for. But they, the woman, she was, and so she wasn't really my blood relative, from what I understood. Okay, it's just that they married, like she could have been the sister-in-law or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. It was so long ago. I could be lying here. But she was one, she did not need to do this, but she did. And we all know that there's a problem with people for this, but she took me one time with her to go shopping, and it was at a store. I was a kid, and my dad got really angry and said, she actually took you with her to go shopping, and what she was doing was she was stealing. She was kleptomaniac, isn't it? And she was stealing, and somehow my dad knew maybe that was her thing. She would use a child, take one of her nieces, nephews, cousins, whatever child she could find to go, and then she'd steal, so they would be distracting. Something. I could be lying about all of this, okay? Because it was so long ago. I was a little kid, okay? I'm 62 now. That was a long time ago. But anyway, can you imagine her own? She had kids, okay? Now, can you imagine being the child of her child, who knows that their mother is doing this? Okay, the child who, say, the ones who go to food banks and get free food, and being a child within that family, being raised to think that's okay, but some of them will be more, have more morals somehow, like in school, their friends, whatever it is, has some kind of influence. Because some of them, they will say that they're Christians. They will even take their kids to Christian church, and their kids, some of them are going to pick up some, I've always said the Bible, Christian Bible. I don't know about other ones, so I don't know if they could be too, but it's a good place to learn morals. You don't have to be a believer, but you can learn morals, ethics. You can learn how to be a good, decent person. Follow Christian, Christian Bible. good, decent people. But these are not. And to be the child who would know that their parent, a child, not a teenager, we're talking a child, a kid, below, not a teenager, okay? And to know that their parent is that kind, that is lying, that is cheating, that is cheating out the government, cheating, of people who really are needy and have kids that, they probably go to school with some kids that don't have enough money. Their family doesn't have enough money to give them something for a snack for lunch. I mean, not a snack for lunch, but a snack, every school, any school I was ever substitute teaching or visiting teaching, they had a snack after lunch. Later in the day after lunch, kids had a snack. Okay. And, the ones that weren't teenagers yet, and, at that grade, it depended on what the school was. If it was 1st through 5th or 1st through 6th, one of them actually had a 9th grade, was all separate from all schools. I don't know how that happened. Yeah, really. 9th grade was one school. The other ones were kind of like regular. But anyway, to know, for a child to know this. And I've been watching remember the Waltons? I was wanting to see something that, that was wholesome, just family oriented, this kind of thing. And the Waltons came out when I was 8 or 9 years old. Okay. And I started watching it just recently. I don't know if it was in the last year or when. And I immediately was like, I don't remember this. And I was like, wow, how controversial. I had forgotten, 8 or 9 years old. I'm 62. I had forgotten that it was, or maybe I just didn't think of it then, that is so controversial, and they talk about so many issues. There's the Depression, there's the Second World War, and so many issues about racism and sexism, on and on. Seriously. Wow, it's just amazing how many issues they've covered, and I'm in the 7th season. I think there's 9, and I'm in the 7th season, and they even talk about, which was not talked about that much back then, mental illness, not illness, it's actually mental disorders. They went from the medical model to away from the medical model, and I don't know how long ago, but yeah. And anyway, I was watching this, and I kind of liked that character, although when I was young I could not stand the character Cora Beth, and I cannot stand the thing that she does. She's a big gossip, and she's kind of prejudiced. Not kind of, and she is. I don't like that. I don't like her her gossip, and well, she's an alcoholic. I just watched the episode where they show that she's an alcoholic, and but there's something about her that seems to be innocent, but she hasn't been able to. She's quite the innocent, and she hasn't been able to break through whatever it was from her childhood that caused her to be this way, the way she is. But they have kind of mentioned it. Apparently it was her mother was trying to make her be something that she wasn't. And so in a way, now I'm saying that because her she couldn't have kids, and they adopted a daughter, and her daughter is, I think, maybe as much as 13, maybe. I don't even think that much, but she knows that her mom is an alcoholic, and she was the first one to say it, and that made me think about all these other ones. plus what I saw the other day, even before I watched that episode, I think, about some of these people who have, fraudsters, sob story fraudsters. They use their kids to get money not for groceries. They say they don't have money for groceries to feed their kids, but no, they want the money for things like vacations. Okay, for selfish reasons, and they're taking money from going to food banks and stuff, taking, food and all, and possibly even lying about it, which could be illegal. Yeah, if it's supported by government, that could be illegal. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. I'm not a voice of authority on any of that. But what I've read, that's what it says. It could be illegal. And, you could hear that going to one of them. They said, you fill out this paperwork, I signed saying that it's the truth, whatever. I would think that they would have that if they have to. I would think that they have to if it's government. So, Anyway. But so that on that show, Cora Beth's adopted daughter, she knew that her mom was an alcoholic, and I see these other ones. And she was lying, and she was doing a lot of stuff that was not good. And these other people that they know that their parent is doing something bad. What it's like to be in a dysfunctional family when the person knows that. I have a character in this it's big series I've been writing and for years, and that's the situation with her. It's been going on for years. It's knowing that her parents, and she didn't know at first, but that they're con artists. Okay. And to be that child in that kind of dysfunctional, there are a lot of different types of dysfunctional family, and I know that so many people say every family. No, period, full stop, no. But somebody said that, so then therefore it's law. That's a lot of people follow that kind of stuff, but nothing is perfect. Nobody is perfect. So, and nothing is perfect, like family systems. But no, not every family is dysfunctional family. This is a distinction. What kind of family it is that is not just they didn't do exactly what I wanted them to. A lot of people think if their parents don't give them what they want, then therefore they're dysfunctional. You see, no, it means more than that. Because their parent didn't buy them the iPhone they want. Oh, then their parents are bad people. Some, yeah. Okay, there is a wasp. Did you see that wasp? Oh my God. And there's a big shrub in front of me, and it's filled with wasps flying around. It's spring, and baby lizards going in and out. Yeah. Oh boy! But that wasp came right at my windshield. Wow. And I'm waiting for the day because there's another one on the other side of the door. I'm waiting for the day that I get stung. Yeah, I've been stung before. So, anyway, I leave them alone. I really do. But anyway, what is it like to know this? And how these parents they say that they're doing these things for their children. They got to take their children on vacation, because they'll say things like, we had to go on vacation because it's been so stressful for us to not have money. Really? To me, I don't see why people can't see, or I do, and I don't want to blame the victim, see why some people can't see through that. I do, because these are master manipulators. This type they can truly manipulate their audiences. And, they try to manipulate their children. They try to teach their children that these kinds of things, that mommy and daddy, there's nothing wrong with them, that they're doing what they do the best for their kids. So they're going to food banks even though they have the money to buy groceries. They get online and beg, tell people sob stories and have that, those, I don't even know what they're called, the apps, available, and all these other things available, have their channels monetized, and then have, that in everything that you can see, whatever it is, that they can pay them somehow, send them money. Yeah, all that available. And how much their kids know about all that, I don't know. But to have a parent that's doing that, at some point, some of these kids are going to know that their parent or parents were beggars, were fraudsters, were, scammers, con artists, snake oil salesmen, swindlers, digital panhandlers, on and on. And they were lying. And for some people, they really honestly don't care that their kids see them that way. They have such a love of money, such a love, the power they think that it gives them, the prestige they think when they go out and buy stuff in their community off of the money that they've gotten off of their audience. They go and buy more expensive groceries. They think that it elevates their status, their social status, but they don't let people know where they're getting the money in their social world. They're just getting the money and showing it off. They're showing people they have that strong need to brag. Some of them actually do it on their video. They get money from their audiences and they brag and say it's their own money, that they're working to make it, when they're not. And there are kids bright enough to be able to figure it out. Okay? Seriously. But anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I'm seeing something rather beautiful over here. It's a bird. It's a bird in a tree. And it's beautiful. It really is. So, wrapping it up. Talk to you on another video. Bye.